Every morning presents a moment of decision, and what you choose to do in the first hour after you wake up sets the stage for how your mind and body will operate for the rest of the day. That first hour is not just about routine, it's about neurochemistry, it's about setting the rhythm of your physiology, and it's about training your brain to understand that you, not the world, are in control of your internal state. When you decide to discipline your mind every morning, you are essentially calibrating the machinery of focus, resilience, and clarity. The mind is not some abstract, separate entity. It's the product of neural circuits firing in patterns that can either be chaotic and reactive or disciplined and purposeful. And you get to influence those patterns by what you repeatedly do the moment you wake. The first moments of the day are when your brain is most plastic, most impressionable. The chemistry is unique. Cortisol peaks naturally within the first hour of waking, and that's not something to fear. That surge is designed to increase alertness, to prime you for engagement with the world. The problem comes when you mismanage it, when you reach for your phone, flood your visual system with artificial light, and load your brain with fragmented information from social media or messages. What that does is teach your nervous system to be reactive, distracted, and overstimulated. But if instead you harness that biological state with discipline, by directing your attention deliberately, by exposing your eyes to natural light, by anchoring your thoughts, you are literally teaching your brain circuits to align toward order, not chaos. That is the essence of mental discipline, not some abstract virtue, but a physical, trainable process in your brain. When you wake up, your visual system is one of the most powerful levers you can pull. Direct exposure to sunlight within the first 30 minutes resets your circadian clock, suppresses melatonin, and enhances dopamine transmission. Dopamine is not about pleasure, it's about motivation, drive, and the willingness to overcome effort. That means if you want to cultivate discipline in your mind, start by giving your brain the inputs that set up motivation. Sunlight, movement, hydration, breath control, all of these are levers that change your state, not by chance but through biology. And when you use them consistently, you are building a reliable system of discipline that doesn't depend on willpower alone, but on wiring your brain to default to strength and focus. It's easy to think discipline is just about forcing yourself to do something, but the science shows it's much more strategic. The circuits in the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for planning, suppressing impulses, and holding long-term goals, are strengthened by repetition and by state control. Every time you wake up and deliberately resist the pull of distraction, you are reinforcing those neural pathways. Every time you set your attention on one meaningful action instead of a dozen trivial ones, you are making it easier for your brain to do the same thing tomorrow. Discipline compounds, and so does the lack of it. If you start your morning in disorder, you've already primed your brain to seek the path of least resistance all day. But if you start with order, you prime your mind to choose order again and again. That's why mornings are so critical. They're not just hours, they're neurological leverage points. Think about the role of breath. Your breathing patterns directly control your state. Shallow, rapid breaths signal your nervous system to be in stress mode, which narrows your focus but also increases reactivity. Deep, deliberate breathing shifts the autonomic balance toward calm alertness, the state most conducive to disciplined thinking. By taking just a few minutes every morning to anchor your breath, you are teaching your brain and body to enter that state on command. This is not mystical, it's mechanical. The diaphragm, the vagus nerve, the circuits in your brainstem, they're all responding to your breath, and you can use that to regulate your mind. A disciplined morning starts with disciplined breathing, because from there you establish the foundation for every thought and action. Movement is another pillar. You don't need a 90-minute workout at dawn, but you do need to signal to your body and brain that it's time to be awake and engaged. Movement increases blood flow, delivers oxygen, and releases neurochemicals that heighten alertness. Even a short walk outdoors, especially combined with sunlight, amplifies the dopamine system and trains your mind to connect effort with reward. That connection, effort to reward, is the very foundation of discipline. When your brain learns that putting in effort early in the day leads to a stronger, more energized state, you condition yourself to embrace effort instead of avoiding it. That single shift, embracing effort rather than resisting it, is the hallmark of a disciplined mind. But discipline is not just about physiological state, It's about what you choose to think. Your thoughts are like repetitions in a gym. Whatever you repeat, your brain strengthens. If the first thoughts you feed your mind are doubts, complaints, or comparisons, your neural circuits reinforce those. If the first thoughts are directed toward gratitude, purpose, or focus, those are the circuits you strengthen. Neuroplasticity doesn't care whether you're wiring discipline or distraction. It simply wires whatever you repeat. That's why discipline every morning must include a deliberate focus on thought quality. Ask yourself, what am I reinforcing? Am I training my brain to wander or to anchor? To be distracted or to be deliberate? Discipline is the repeated act of choosing the anchor. The mind also needs friction. Too often, people confuse comfort with well-being, but the nervous system thrives on a balance of challenge and recovery. If your mornings are too comfortable, sleeping in, scrolling passively, easing into the day, you deprive your brain of the necessary signal that effort is valuable. Friction in the morning, whether it's cold exposure, physical effort, or even sitting with uncomfortable thoughts without distraction, teaches your brain that you can withstand challenge. And the more your nervous system experiences that early, the more resilient it becomes throughout the day. Discipline is not about avoiding stress, it's about adapting to it with precision. The mornings are where you practice that adaptation daily. Consider the role of dopamine again. It is a finite system, not an endless resource. If you waste it on trivial, shallow rewards early in the day, like scrolling sugar or gossip, you are depleting the very chemistry needed for discipline. If instead you direct dopamine toward effortful, meaningful actions, you create a positive feedback loop. Your brain learns that the reward is not in escape but in pursuit. This is how discipline transforms from a forced act into a preferred state. You begin to crave the focus, crave the clarity, crave the alignment that comes from disciplined mornings. That craving is what sustains you when motivation inevitably wanes. Every disciplined morning is also a training ground for stress inoculation. Life is unpredictable, challenges will come, but when you have taught your mind to focus under self-imposed structure, you are less likely to be rattled by external chaos. That's because you've rehearsed it. You've rehearsed holding focus in the face of distraction. You've rehearsed embracing effort when comfort beckons. You've rehearsed controlling your state rather than being a victim of it. This rehearsal wires resilience into your circuits. Discipline is not rigid control, it's flexibility under pressure, and mornings are the practice field. Hydration, nutrition, light breath, movement, thought, effort. These are not random lifestyle tips. They are the toolkit for disciplining your mind at the most plastic time of day. If you integrate them with intention, you will notice that your ability to direct your mind grows. Focus lasts longer, reactivity decreases, and clarity sharpens. It doesn't happen overnight, but neuroplasticity ensures that it does happen with repetition. And once those circuits are wired, discipline stops being something you have to force. It becomes your default. Think about the identity shift this creates. Each time you choose discipline in the morning, you reinforce the identity of someone who is in control, someone who prioritizes focus, someone who can handle discomfort. The nervous system doesn't just wire habits, it wires self-perception. That means the more you practice disciplined mornings, the more natural it feels to think of yourself as a disciplined person. And once that identity is established, every choice throughout the day is filtered through it. You no longer negotiate with laziness because it no longer aligns with who you are. That's the true power of morning discipline. It rewires not just your state, but your self-concept. Of course, discipline requires consistency. Missing one morning doesn't ruin the system, but what matters is that you don't allow exceptions to become the rule. The brain is always looking for patterns, and the more consistent your pattern of discipline is, the more automatic it becomes. Consistency doesn't mean perfection. It means showing up for the practice every day, even if imperfectly. The nervous system rewards consistency with efficiency. What feels effortful today will feel natural tomorrow, simply because your circuits adapt. This is the essence of training the mind effort, repeated until effortless. When you think about discipline every morning, don't imagine it as a monumental burden. Imagine it as alignment with your biology. Your brain and body are designed to respond to light, breath, movement, thought, and effort in ways that promote focus and resilience. All you're doing is aligning with that design instead of fighting against it. Discipline feels hard only when you resist what your system actually needs. When you align, discipline stops feeling like restriction and starts feeling like liberation. Because you realize freedom is not doing whatever you feel like, it's having the control to direct yourself toward what truly matters. So when you wake up tomorrow, recognize the moment you are in. Your brain is in a plastic, impressionable state. Your physiology is primed to be directed, and you hold the levers. Do not hand them over to distraction, to chaos, to reactivity. Use them deliberately. Expose yourself to light, move your body, breathe deeply, hydrate, anchor your thoughts, embrace effort. Train your circuits for focus, not fragmentation. Discipline your mind every morning, and soon enough, you won't just have better mornings. You'll have a better brain, a better day, a better life. Discipline of the mind begins the moment you wake. The first hour of the day is not just routine, it is biology, it is chemistry, it is physics inside your brain that either moves you toward clarity or toward chaos. When your eyes first open, you step into a window of time where your nervous system is highly impressionable. Cortisol naturally peaks, preparing your body to face the world, and your brain circuits are more flexible than they will be later in the day. That means what you choose in those first moments becomes the blueprint for how your mind will function the rest of the day. If you reach for distraction, you train distraction. If you reach for focus, you train focus. If you allow the outside world to hijack your attention through screens, messages, or endless fragments of information, you are teaching your nervous system to be scattered. But if you discipline yourself to take control of light, breath, thought, and movement from the start, you are teaching your mind that you decide where its energy flows. That is the foundation of mental discipline, repeatedly conditioning your brain circuits to respond to your deliberate choices rather than to reflexive impulses. Over time, those choices create neural pathways that make discipline automatic rather than forced. Every disciplined morning strengthens the identity of someone who can control their state and therefore control their destiny. The power of light in the morning cannot be overstated. Your visual system is not just about seeing, it is the main regulator of your biological clock. When you expose your eyes to sunlight within the first half hour of waking, you are synchronizing your circadian rhythm. You suppress melatonin, you increase dopamine. You send signals through the hypothalamus that tell every cell in your body what time it is. This is how your physiology organizes itself. Without that input, the system drifts, and so does your discipline. Artificial light from a phone or indoor bulb does not have the same impact. You need the natural intensity of the sun. And when you give your brain that signal, you're not just waking up your body, you're priming the very circuits responsible for motivation and drive. Dopamine is not about pleasure, it's about pursuit. When you teach your system that effort in the morning, simply stepping outside and seeking sunlight leads to heightened energy, you are wiring the link between effort and reward. That link is the cornerstone of discipline. Once the mind craves that link, effort no longer feels like punishment. It feels like the gateway to strength. Pair that with movement, even a short walk or stretch, and you amplify the signal. Blood flow increases, oxygen delivery rises, the prefrontal cortex sharpens. Suddenly the fog is gone and clarity emerges. These are not accidents, they are predictable outcomes of aligning with your biology. And the more consistently you align, the less room you give to disorder. Breath is another lever. Every inhale, every exhale is a direct line to your nervous system. Shallow, rapid breathing tells your body to be in defense mode. It narrows your focus but makes you reactive, jumpy, easily pulled away from intention. Deep, deliberate breathing signals balance. It activates circuits that create calm alertness, the very state you need for discipline. By taking even 2 to 5 minutes each morning to anchor your breath, you teach your mind that you can control state with precision. Imagine what that does for your day. When challenges come, you don't default to panic, you default to control. When distractions pull, you don't default to impulse, you default to awareness. That is what breath training in the morning does. It rehearses discipline at the level of physiology, and just like muscles in the gym, the more you rehearse, the stronger those circuits become. Soon your nervous system learns that discipline is not effortful. It is your baseline. That is the transformation. Discipline moving from something you have to summon to something you embody. Thought quality is the third foundation. Neuroplasticity is always listening, always wiring whatever you repeat. The thoughts you feed yourself in the morning are repetitions. If you begin with worry, you strengthen worry. If you begin with comparison, you strengthen comparison. But if you direct your thoughts toward gratitude, purpose, or even simple awareness, you strengthen those circuits. Discipline is not only about what you do, it is about what you allow your mind to dwell on. The brain does not care whether you practice distraction or focus. It simply gets better at whatever you rehearse. That means you must be ruthless in protecting your first thoughts. Do not let the random noise of the world plant seeds in your mind before you've planted your own. Anchor your thoughts deliberately. Write, reflect, or simply remind yourself of the values and goals that actually matter. Over time, this becomes identity. You stop being someone who reacts and start being someone who leads yourself. The disciplined morning becomes the foundation of a disciplined life, not because of one dramatic act, but because of thousands of small, deliberate repetitions that accumulate into strength. The mind also needs friction. Too many people seek comfort in the mornings, but comfort does not train resilience. The nervous system thrives on challenge. It is designed to adapt when it meets friction. That friction might be physical, cold exposure exercise, or even pushing through the inertia of fatigue. It might be mental, choosing to sit with silence instead of fleeing into distraction. Whatever form it takes, friction tells your system that you can handle discomfort. And the more you rehearse that early in the day, the more resilient you are when real challenges appear later. Discipline is not about avoiding stress. It is about becoming skilled at managing stress. The mornings give you a daily opportunity to practice. Cold water teaches your nervous system that shock can be met with control. Exercise teaches your system that effort leads to energy. Stillness teaches your mind that boredom can be transformed into focus. Each of these practices wires circuits of resilience. Over weeks and months, those circuits harden into a disciplined identity. And once your identity shifts, discipline is no longer a choice you debate, it is simply who you are. That is the true victory of disciplined mornings. They rewire your brain to expect effort, to crave clarity, and to thrive under control,